It was a stormy April night in 2008 when Emily Wilson dropped off her children at her sister Sarah's apartment. Michael was 7, Olivia was 5, and little Sophie was just 3 years old. "It's just for the weekend," Emily had said, her eyes avoiding Sarah's concerned gaze. "I need to sort some things out with Jake. The kids will be better off here." Sarah, who had just turned 30 and was building her career as an elementary school teacher, welcomed her nieces and nephew with open arms. She ordered pizza, built a blanket fort in her small living room, and tried to make the children feel safe despite the thunder outside and the obvious tension in their mother's demeanor. But the weekend came and went. Then a week. Then a month. The only communication from Emily was a brief text, "Need more time. Taking a job in California. Will send money when I can." That money never came. Sarah still remembers the night she sat on her bathroom floor, crying after the children had gone to bed, wondering how she was going to manage raising 3 kids on a teacher's salary in her one-bedroom apartment. But then she remembered the way little Sophie had hugged her that morning, how Michael had bravely pretended not to miss his mom, and how Olivia had drawn a picture of the 4 of them labeled, "Our Family." "I'll figure it out," Sarah whispered to herself that night. "These kids deserve better." And so, without any legal obligation, without any promise of return, Sarah became the mother these children needed, not by birth, but by choice. A choice she made every single day for the next 15 years. Montage of Sarah working multiple jobs, moving to a small house, attending school events. Raising 3 children alone wasn't just challenging, it was an uphill battle that required Sarah to reinvent her entire life. She took on additional tutoring jobs after school hours. Weekends were spent working at a local bookstore. Holidays meant extra shifts to afford presents. She moved from her beloved apartment in the city to a small 2-bedroom house in the suburbs, taking the sofa bed in the living room while the girls shared one bedroom and Michael took the other. "Aunt Sarah, why don't you have your own room?" Sophie once asked innocently. Sarah smiled, tucking her in. "Because I get the best view of the sunrise from the living room window." She never let them see the sacrifices for what they were. Instead, she transformed necessity into adventure. When they couldn't afford summer camp, Sarah created Camp Wilson in their backyard, complete with homemade badges for swimming at the public pool and hiking in the free state parks. When new clothes weren't in the budget, she taught them how to thrift shop like treasure hunters. "Look for quality, not labels," she'd say, examining the stitching on a second-hand jacket for Michael. "Style isn't about how much you spend, it's about how you carry yourself." There were nights when Sarah would fall asleep marking papers, her reading glasses still on, a half-empty cup of cold coffee on the table beside her. The children learned to quietly remove her glasses, place a blanket over her, and turn off the lights. "Don't wake Aunt Sarah," Michael would whisper to his sisters. "She needs her rest." What Sarah never told them was how she had deferred her dreams of getting a master's degree, how she had turned down a promotion that would have required more travel, or how she had gently rejected the advances of a wonderful man who wasn't ready for an instant family. But even in the struggle, there was joy. Authentic, hard-won joy that came from watching these children grow, learn, and begin to heal from their mother's abandonment. Scene changes to school graduations, sports events, family dinners. Under Sarah's guidance, the children began to flourish, each in their own way. Michael, the serious protector, excelled in school and discovered a passion for architecture. Sarah noticed how he would sketch buildings on napkins and saved for months to buy him proper drafting tools for his 14th birthday. "You have an eye for structure," she told him. "You see how things fit together when others just see pieces." Olivia, artistic and sensitive, struggled with the abandonment the most. There were nights Sarah would hold her through tears, reassuring her of her worth. "Your mother's choices are not a reflection of you," Sarah would say. Sometimes adults make decisions based on their own battles, not because of anything lacking in those they leave behind. Sarah encouraged Olivia's interest in photography, recognizing how it allowed her to capture beauty in the world when she struggled to see it in herself. She worked overtime for 3 months to afford a used DSLR camera for Olivia's 16th birthday. Sophie, the youngest, barely remembered her mother. For her, Sarah was the only maternal figure she'd known. Bright and determined, Sophie inherited Sarah's love for education and declared at age 10 that she would become a teacher, just like Aunt Sarah. "You'll be better than me," Sarah told her with a wink. "You've got all my knowledge plus your own special magic." There were challenges beyond financial ones. Parent-teacher conferences where Sarah would have to explain she wasn't the mother. Well-meaning but painful questions from other parents about the children's real mom. The occasional cruel comment from classmates that would send one of the kids home in tears. Through it all, Sarah created traditions that bonded them as a family. Sunday morning pancakes became sacred no matter how busy the week had been. Annual camping trips in the national forest taught them resilience and appreciation for simple pleasures. Friday movie nights with homemade popcorn and blanket forts remained even as the children grew into teenagers. Being a family isn't about sharing DNA, Sarah would remind them. It's about sharing your life, your heart, and your pancakes. As the years passed, the small house that had once felt cramped became a home filled with photographs, achievement certificates, and the comfortable chaos of a loving family, scenes of college acceptance letters, first jobs, achievements. The years of Sarah's sacrifice began to bear fruit as the children entered adulthood. Michael's architectural talent earned him a full scholarship to a prestigious university. His professors praised his unique approach to sustainable design, never knowing that it stemmed from years of watching Sarah creatively stretch resources and find beauty in necessity. At his graduation, when he was awarded top honors, he dedicated his achievement to "the woman who built the foundation of everything good in my life." Olivia's photography evolved from hobby to passion to profession. Her unique perspective caught the attention of a renowned gallery owner, leading to her first exhibition at 23. Her collection, titled Present Guardians, subtly told the story of her aunt's unwavering presence through images of hands teaching, supporting, comforting, and letting go. "These photographs capture moments of impact," the gallery owner said at the opening. "The invisible threads that connect people during life's most significant transitions." What the critics didn't know was that many of those hands belonged to Sarah. Sophie, following in her aunt's footsteps, graduated with honors in education but with a focus on counseling children from unstable homes. She understood firsthand the difference one caring adult could make. "My students remind me of us," she told Sarah after her first year of teaching. "They're looking for someone who won't give up on them." With their combined success came financial stability. Michael's firm quickly recognized his talent, promoting him to lead designer on significant projects. Olivia's photography was commissioned by major magazines and private collectors. Sophie, while not as financially successful as her siblings, contributed her steady teacher's income and boundless emotional intelligence to their family unit. What they never told Sarah was that for years, they had been saving, pooling resources, investing wisely, and planning something extraordinary for the woman who had given them everything when she had nothing. Siblings meeting secretly, looking at house plans, making phone calls. It began as a conversation at Michael's apartment during one of their monthly sibling dinners, a tradition they'd started after all three had moved out of Sarah's home. "Aunt Sarah's roof is leaking again," Sophie mentioned, concern etching her features. "She says she's saving up to fix it, but you know how she is. The whole house needs more than patches at this point." Michael nodded, his architect's mind already assessing the other structural issues he'd noticed during his last visit. "The foundation is shifting too. That place has served its purpose, but she would never leave." Olivia finished his thought, scrolling through her phone to show them something. "Look what I found though." On her screen was a listing for a beautiful Craftsman-style home in Sarah's beloved neighborhood, the one she'd originally left to move them to more affordable housing. It had a garden, a proper home office where she could further her recently started online teaching career, and most importantly, enough bedrooms that she would finally have her own space. "She always said she loved Craftsman homes," Michael mused, taking the phone and examining the architectural details. "Said they reminded her of the dollhouse her grandmother gave her as a child." "It's perfect," Sophie whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "But how could we ever afford this?" Michael and Olivia exchanged a look. I've been saving since my first big commission, Olivia admitted. And I put aside most of my last 3 bonuses, Michael added. Sophie looked between them, astounded. You've been planning this? Both of you? Not exactly planning, Michael clarified. More like hoping for the right opportunity. And this house, it's the one, sophomore. Can you contribute? Sophie calculated quickly. I don't have nearly what you two do, but I've got my emergency fund and I can take on extra summer school classes. Then it's settled, Olivia said, her photographer's eye already imagining Sarah in this new space. We're buying Aunt Sarah a home. What they didn't anticipate was the complication that would arise just as their plan was coming together, a ghost from the past that threatened to upend everything, a woman watching the family from afar, then approaching the siblings. It happened on a crisp October afternoon, just 3 weeks before they were set to close on the house. The siblings had met at the property for a final walkthrough with their realtor when a taxi pulled up outside. The woman who stepped out was both familiar and foreign: Emily Wilson, their birth mother, 15 years older but unmistakable. My babies, she said, arms outstretched as if expecting embraces. Look how beautiful you all are. The siblings stood frozen, the shock of seeing her paralyzing them momentarily. For Michael, it was like looking at an old photograph come to life. For Olivia, it was confronting the face that had haunted her dreams. For Sophie, it was meeting a stranger who somehow shared her features. Emily filled the awkward silence with explanations that sounded rehearsed. She'd been in California, then Arizona, then abroad. She'd remarried, divorced, struggled with personal issues she glossed over. She'd found herself, finally, and wanted to reconnect with her children. I've been following your careers online, she said proudly, as if she'd had some part in their success. Michael, an architect. Olivia, your photography is exquisite. And Sophie, teaching just like my sister. The mention of Sarah broke the spell of shock. Why are you here? Michael asked, his voice controlled but cold. After 15 years, why now? Emily's smile faltered slightly. I'm moving back to the area. I thought it was time to be a family again. What Emily didn't say, but what became clear as the conversation continued on the sidewalk outside the beautiful house they were about to purchase, was that her latest relationship had ended, leaving her financially unstable. She had seen Michael's success featured in an architectural magazine and decided that reconnecting with her now successful children might provide her with the support system she suddenly needed. I've made mistakes, she admitted, tears that seemed practiced welling in her eyes. But I never stopped loving you. I have so many regrets. The siblings exchanged glances, years of unspoken understanding passing between them. We should continue this conversation elsewhere, Olivia finally said, not wanting to discuss their private business in front of the realtor. We're in the middle of something important. Of course, Emily said, her eyes darting curiously to the house behind them. What is this place? It's gorgeous. It's a gift, Sophie said simply. For the person who actually raised us. Tense scene in a cafe, emotional exchanges. They met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where they could speak privately but still be in public. Emily talked more than she listened, filling gaps with excuses rather than genuine remorse. You have to understand, she said, stirring her untouched coffee. I was so young when I had you, Michael. My relationship with your father was toxic. And then came the girls with Jake, who turned out to be just as bad. I wasn't equipped to be a mother then. And Sarah was? Olivia challenged, unable to contain herself any longer. She was younger than you are now when you dumped us on her doorstep. She had 1 bedroom and a teaching job. She was equipped with exactly nothing except the decency not to abandon children who needed her. Emily flinched. That's not fair. Sarah didn't have the same issues I was dealing with. Which were what, exactly? Michael asked, his architect's precision evident in how carefully he constructed the question. When Emily hesitated, skirting around specifics, the truth became clearer. There had been no great tragedy, no insurmountable obstacle, just a woman who had chosen herself repeatedly over her children. "I'm not here to be judged," Emily said defensively. "I'm here because you're my children and I want to be part of your lives now." "Is that so wrong?" Sophie, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "The problem isn't that you want to be in our lives now. It's that you're here because you want something from us, not because we needed you." "That's not true," Emily protested, but her eyes darted away. "You have nowhere to stay, do you?" Michael asked directly. "No job lined up, no plan beyond reconnecting with your successful children." The silence that followed was answer enough. "We're not heartless," Olivia said after a moment. "Despite having every reason to be. We can help you find a job, a place to stay temporarily. But we won't be manipulated, and we won't allow you to disrupt Sarah's life." "Sarah, Sarah, Sarah," Emily muttered. "She's not your mother, I am. She's had you for 15 years. Don't I deserve a chance?" Michael leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "Deserving implies you've earned something. What exactly have you earned, Mom?" The word "Mom" hung in the air, hollow and performative, highlighting how empty the title was without the love and sacrifice to back it. Emily's facade cracked, revealing glimpses of the truth they'd already guessed. She was alone, broke, and saw her children as a solution rather than people she had wounded. "We're buying Sarah a house," Sophie finally said. "The one you saw us at today. It's our gift to her for everything she's done. You're welcome to attend the reveal if you agree to make it about her, not you." Emily's expression shifted through surprise, jealousy, and calculation before settling on a brittle smile. "Of course. She is my sister, after all." The siblings left the cafe knowing their mother's return wasn't about reconciliation, it was about necessity. And while they wouldn't turn their backs on her as she had done to them, they also wouldn't allow her to hijack the moment that Sarah so richly deserved. Emotional scene of surprising Sarah with the house keys. They chose Sarah's birthday for the reveal, a day that she had always made special for them, but often overlooked for herself. They told her they were taking her to a special birthday brunch, but first, they needed to make a quick stop. "Why are we pulling up to this house?" Sarah asked, confused when Michael parked in the driveway of the Craftsman home. "Are we picking someone up?" "In a way," Olivia said cryptically, exchanging excited glances with her siblings. They led Sarah up the stone path to the front porch, where Michael ceremoniously pulled out a key. "What's going on?" Sarah asked, looking between their beaming faces. "Sarah Wilson," Michael began formally, though his voice trembled with emotion, 15 years ago, you opened your door and your heart to 3 scared kids who had nowhere else to go. You turned your 1-bedroom apartment into a home for us," Olivia continued, tears already streaming down her face. "You worked 3 jobs so we could have opportunities. You showed up to every game, every recital, every parent-teacher conference. You chose us every single day," Sophie added, squeezing Sarah's hand. "When you had every reason to walk away, you stayed. You taught us what family really means." Sarah's eyes widened as understanding began to dawn. "What did you 3 do?" she whispered. Michael held out the key to her. "We bought you a home. Not just any home, the one you always dreamed of. 4 bedrooms, a garden for your herbs, a proper office for your online classes, walking distance to your favorite bookstore. Welcome home, Aunt Sarah," they said in unison. Sarah's hand trembled as she took the key, tears flowing freely. "I can't accept this," she protested weakly. "This is too much. You need to save for your own futures." "You are our future," Olivia said firmly. "Everything good in our lives exists because you sacrificed for us. Please, let us do this one thing for you." As Sarah looked from the key to the beautiful house before her, 15 years of memories flashed through her mind. Cramped quarters, tight budgets, endless work, but always, always love. "I never wanted thanks," she managed through her tears. "I just wanted you 3 to be okay." "We're more than okay," Sophie assured her. Because of you, we're exceptional. Now please, open the door to your new home. With trembling hands, Sarah unlocked the door to the life she had always deserved but never thought to claim for herself: family gathering in the new house, emotional reconciliation. The housewarming party was small, just the four of them, a few of Sarah's closest friends, and, standing awkwardly near the edge of the gathering, Emily. The siblings had explained their mother's return to Sarah privately before the party. True to her nature, Sarah had responded with grace rather than bitterness. "She's still your mother," Sarah had said quietly. "And my sister. Whatever has happened, that doesn't change." As the evening progressed, the guests gradually departed until only the immediate family remained. The tension in the room was palpable as Emily finally approached Sarah, who was admiring the built-in bookshelves Michael had specifically requested for the living room design. "This is quite a gift they've given you," Emily said, her voice a complex mixture of emotions. "You must be very proud of them." Sarah turned to her sister, seeing beyond the years and resentments to the girl she'd grown up with. "I am. But I didn't raise them to be successful, Emily. I raised them to be good people. Their success is their own achievement." Emily nodded, fighting tears. "I made a mess of everything, didn't I? I told myself I was doing what was best for them by leaving. That they'd be better off." "Maybe you were right," Sarah said gently, surprising everyone. "Not about leaving them that broke their hearts in ways that still haven't fully healed. But about me being able to give them something you couldn't at that time." The siblings watched this exchange from across the room, witnessing a conversation 15 years in the making. "I was selfish," Emily admitted, the first genuine moment since her return. "I told myself I'd come back when I had my life together, when I could give them everything. But days turned to months, months to years, and the longer I stayed away, the harder it became to return." "Why now?" Sarah asked the question her nieces and nephew had been too angry to pose gently. Emily's facade finally cracked completely. "Because I have nothing and no one. Because I finally realized that everything I've been chasing was worthless compared to what I threw away. Because I'm alone and scared and—" Her voice broke. "And I need my family." The raw honesty of this admission shifted something in the room. Not forgiveness, that would take much longer, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Michael was the first to move, crossing the room to stand beside his mother and aunt. "We can't go back," he said firmly. "We can't pretend the abandonment didn't happen or that Sarah isn't our true parent in every way that matters." Emily nodded, accepting this truth. "But," Michael continued, "we can move forward. Not as if nothing happened, but acknowledging everything that did happen, the good and the bad." Olivia joined them, her photographer's eye seeing the complex composition of this family portrait, broken and mended, fractured but not destroyed. "You'll need to earn trust," she told her mother. "That takes time. And actions, not just words," Sophie added, completing the circle. Sarah looked around at the family in her new home, a family defined not by perfection but by resilience, not by blood alone but by choices made day after day, year after year. "This house has plenty of room," she said quietly. "Emily, there's a guest bedroom upstairs if you need a place to stay while you figure things out." It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was an opening, a chance for Emily to demonstrate with actions whether she truly wanted reconciliation or merely support. "I don't deserve your kindness," Emily whispered. "Probably not," Sarah agreed with surprising candor. "But family isn't about deserving. It's about belonging, even when it's complicated. These children taught me that." As they stood together in the warm light of Sarah's new home, they understood that some gifts can't be wrapped or handed over with a key. The greatest gift in that room wasn't the house itself, it was the capacity for growth, for healing, and for writing new chapters even after painful beginnings. Scenes of the family 1 year later, then direct address to camera. 1 year later, the Craftsman house has truly become a home. Sarah's garden blooms with herbs and flowers. The kitchen island has become command central for Sunday family dinners. The guest room has transitioned to Emily's room, though her path to rebuilding relationships remains slow and sometimes stumbling. Sarah finally completed her master's degree, using her new home office to study late into the night. The diploma hangs proudly beside the children's achievements in the hallway gallery. The siblings visit often, bringing partners, friends, and in Michael's case, a new fiancé. The house has become what Sarah always created, even in the smallest spaces, a haven of unconditional love. Emily works at a local florist shop, slowly earning her place in the family through consistent presence rather than grand gestures. Some days are better than others, but she hasn't disappeared again, a small victory that doesn't erase the past but helps build the future. Camera zooms in on narrator. So, what's the moral of this story? Perhaps it's that family isn't defined by biology but by billions of moments of choosing to stay, to care, to show up when it would be easier to walk away. Perhaps it's that gratitude, when expressed through action, can heal wounds we thought would scar us forever. Or maybe it's simply that sometimes, the most profound way to say, thank you, is to create space for someone who always made space for you.